good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome everyone to our Rising first half 2021 SAP SuccessFactors Employee Central LinkedIn Live. My name is Shannon Ippolito. I am Services Manager of Employee Central here at Rising. And my co-host today is the infamous Paul Rose. Hello, Paul.
Thank you. Hello, Shannon. Thank you. You said you didn't practice that intro, but I don't quite believe you now. But good to be here anyway. I'm looking forward to catching up about around the latest release.
Yes. For those who may not know, Paul is my longest friend here at Rising. When I first started over 8 years ago, he was assigned as my buddy. And he's probably one of the first emails I received. And to know that we're still here is absolutely amazing. So, yeah, it's been quite a fun ride.
It has, Shannon. And I was only thinking back there just during the week in terms of at the start with Employee Central, where we were, you're struggling without business rules or any of the fancy functionality that we have now. So it was, we were more relying on our wits.
Or our forward-thinking clients who asked, "Can the system do this? Can the system do that?" And you had to keep saying, "No, not yet." And look what it can do now. So it's just amazing.
True. That's true.
I think go ahead.
I think you got more of the demanding clients anyway. So it was, I was okay.
I did always seem to get those. I don't know why.
Did.
So Paul, can you tell us a little bit about what you do now today at Rising, just so that the folks watching here can understand where we're coming from?
Sure, Shannon. Yeah, I work as a practice director for EMEA. So work primarily around this as a solution architect, I suppose, for a lot of our European clients, but also for our North American clients as well. So part of many global implementations. I suppose what we're really trying to do is look at the organizations coming from the on-premise or even legacy systems and move them over to cloud technology pretty smoothly, and kind of all that comes with it in terms of the reporting, analytics, integration, so all that fun stuff. So probably over the last couple of years more as a solution architect, but previously, as we talked about, really focus on the Employee Central. So and yourself, do you want to give a quick review of your current role, Shannon?
Sure, absolutely. So I am part of the managed services team for Rising. And what that means is that we support the customers that have already gone live, right? So we're here to be your partner of choice, to help you with your break fixes, your bugs, but more importantly, to also help you navigate the system, navigate these releases, understand, the impacts that the different innovations that SuccessFactors comes out with, as well as also obviously just help your admins understand their system and proactively work with you to look in the future. So we really take these release reviews very seriously. We learn them very closely and understand the details of it all. So.
And in terms of the change then from 4 releases to 2, have you noticed a big difference for your team, for clients then as well? Has it been a big impact?
I would say it actually has. I was nervous about it, I'm going to be honest, when they switched, right? Because of just packing so much more in at one time instead of spreading it out. But it actually has turned out to work really, really well, I think, because there's not so much of that. We just got through a release and now we have another one coming up, right? Like there's just that natural anxiety and stress, and customers couldn't really plan very well for what they were going to do in the year because you were always worried about those releases. So it's really worked out quite well.
No, it's interesting. And I think, because I probably see more of the clients in the implementation mode. So it's, their focus is so much on project. So I think clearly from the release standpoint, it is around those, the post go live, and just having kind of a combination, isn't it? Because a lot of clients these days, they're live with a percentage of their population, but then maybe they're not with the rest. So it's trying to balance that, isn't it?
Yep, exactly. So let's get on to talking about the releases. I'm sure you and I could sit here and chat all day, but let's get into the fun of it. So Paul, what is one of the items that you have seen in this release that has just had you really excited to talk about?
I think around the one area that's interesting, I suppose, is around the configurable new hire. And I think the flexibility now that SuccessFactors have introduced with that configurable new hire template. I mean, we've probably heard concerns from clients over the past couple of years. We need to get more flexibility here in terms of the pending hires and the new hire template area. So having potentially fixed term contract employees with one template versus a regular permanent employee full time with another. So I think things like that flexibility that they've brought with this new release now, and being able to assign certain data fields that are mandatory or they're only visible for maybe fixed term employees. I think it'll make it easier, won't it, for certainly in clients like in sectors like retail where there's a lot of hiring activity going on a regular basis. Any thoughts there, Shannon?
Yeah, no, and with this release too, right, is coming out with the managed pending hires being able to utilize that configurable new hire. So I know a lot of our recruiting and onboarding clients last time haven't really been able to explore that because of the data coming through. One thing to note about that, I think it's excellent, and I think clients, you should start testing it. One thing to note though is that if your data is being mapped through recruiting or onboarding into your managed pending hires, make sure that you have that block of data, right? So we can, show blocks or remove blocks, but if you have data coming over, make sure you have that block there, because otherwise the data has nowhere to go and then you're going to lose it. So just one important note for that, but I'm really super excited. I played around with it a little bit already previously, and it's nice. It's really nice.
That's great. Excellent. And anything from your side that you've seen as really exciting for the clients?
When I first looked at this release, I thought it was a lot of technical stuff. I'm like, oh, there's no like whiz bang things. But then I started diving into it more. And there's actually a few things for our position management customers out there that I'd like to highlight. One of them is a new tool that is being introduced for mass data management. And right now it's only going to be for positions. But for those who have positions, when you have org changes or reorgs, or you have to update a lot of positions, typically you have to do it through exports and imports and syncing it to your employee data, and it just can become a very manual process. They now have introduced this tool where you can set it up. You can easily find those positions you need to update via filters. You can make the updates right there through the UI. You can save draft, have someone else review it and approve it. It looks like such a better experience in managing your organization data from a position perspective. And I cannot wait to see what future releases are going to be added to this. Like, that's just, I think it's going to be just such a great experience for clients to manage their data.
Yeah, it's going to make a big difference, I think. Yeah, absolutely. I suppose one other big area that I saw was, and it's funny, is around the configuration center, and
Yep.
the enhancement there around being able to download and then transport configuration. I suppose maybe akin to the on-premise world as well, where there's a little bit more of a formal process moving from dev to test to production. And it's only in a call last week with an organization, a South African client, that they were speaking of this as well, and the difficulty in terms of comparing the on-prem to cloud and what they're used to. So I think the ability to be able to download and selectively choose those configuration data model components and pass them over to test or production is going to be a big win. And I think, I'm not sure what any thoughts there on that topic as well.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think those of us who have tried to utilize instant sync, that functionality, obviously it's come a long way from where it was, but it's still not exactly right what our clients are looking for, especially those clients coming from on-prem. That's just not the process that they're used to. And so I am very excited to start seeing this being used again from a maintenance perspective. And ongoing changes, right? So even us and my team, when we make updates, Client asks us to create something new in their system. We go through the testing process. This is, to your point, going to just make it much more formal, even for us to move that along. And then again, also just putting it in the hands of the clients to be able to see it, have more visibility to it. And I'll add to that too, additional thing with this release is the ability to export the succession data model. So we've been able to export the corporate data model from the admin center. Now customers have access to export the succession data model. And that is awesome for those who are more technical on your admin teams that like to read the XML and know, right, get right in there and see it. But also, what I find is that there is the log, so you can see when the last update was, and you can download the different versions. So I think that's always been something missing from clients because it's been in provisioning, right? So now they'll be able to see it. And I just think that, again, great exposure.
I think, some of the, let's say, some skepticism, again, back to that point around people, around companies moving to the cloud, is around that configuration movement and maybe the lack of formality, again, around it. So hopefully that's, again, investment from SAP, that they recognize that that's maybe some of the skepticism and that they're moving forward and coming up with tangible solutions there.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's exciting. Yeah. So one of the questions that came in, what client system roles will appreciate this release most from SuccessFactors? I think we talked about something similar last week, Shannon. I think it's around that HRIS analyst, HRIS support role, where they're really, again, the validations have improved. We talked about the configurable new hire templates. There's also improvements around the data replication monitor for those companies that have EC and payroll as well. So to me, it's that HRIS experience that's really the focus for this release, and those users will appreciate the enhancements probably the most.
Agreed. And in addition to that, when you talk about with validations, is that over the past few releases, we have been seeing, from a business rule perspective, being able to have those scenarios. And those scenarios, when you create a business rule, is to really help the end user not mess up a rule. I mean, I'm going to be honest, like, it's to help you help yourself is really what it's doing. So that, even us as partners and, we've been doing it and we have that experience. I mean, we still mess up rules too, but it's really for those, putting that power again into the client's hands to be able to create your own business rules, manage your business rules. And there's been additional rule scenarios added in again with this release, quite a few, as well as additional validations. I do want to call out again from a position perspective, the position to job information. So again, if you have position management, position to job info rule, there's now additional validations in there to ensure you don't have certain mappings or setting your job info that is not appropriate or will not work. And some of those, the biggest one I've seen that I think will impact quite a few clients is FTE. So you cannot, in the rule, set your FTE on job info to be equal to the FTE on position info, because you should be utilizing the standard system functionality for FTE or using the delivered business rule configuration. There's a function to set the FTE. So if you have that in your rule from position to job info, when you go to edit your rule, you're going to see an error message pop up and you'll have to remove it. It'll still do it, but it's not supposed to. So again, just to call out there, a lot more validations when it comes to business rules.
It's always the one conversation, isn't it? It comes up pretty probably in the middle of each implementation, how the FTE calculation is going to be focused on. Okay, excellent. And from, I suppose, one other area that I think was pretty key in this release was around, I suppose it wasn't a big enhancement in terms of diversity, but the gender, some of those standard fields within gender for New Zealand, Australia, Austria as well, I believe, that the pick list for global info in the country specific area, they have they're constantly updating, I suppose, in those country specific areas, and the integration then or the connection to payroll is updated then as well. Like on some of the organizations that I'm working in, there's such a big focus on diversity. Even if I compare it to 18 months ago, 24 months ago, it's vast, and not just in Employee Central, I suppose, but if you're thinking of areas like succession, diversity and inclusion, intelligent mentoring, but discussions around ethnicity and veteran status. So there's so much I think that SAP are working on across the solution that it's yeah, I suppose that's going to be a really key area, isn't it, over the next couple of years?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're definitely going to see more around that coming in. Definitely.
And so this question in the comments, can you elaborate on what improvements were made around the replication manager? I think that I can comment on that maybe, and Shannon, you can, in terms of the data replication monitor, I suppose it's really, I suppose, more of a visual optics item where the data replication page has been improved with improved filtering, and I think the look and feel of the UI will be significantly improved there as well. So just to make it easier for payroll administrators to really assess if there's a data issue, etc., and configure issues. So
yeah, I agree. And another update that was made, so there's the data replication 2.0, and then there's also admin alerts 2.0. I also do want to call out that admin alerts. I think not as many customers are utilizing that admin alerts as well as I think they should. You would be surprised actually how many of our clients that don't even have it, permissioned yet. So the current admin alerts, there's a tile in Admin Center, is being deprecated. So admin alerts 2.0 is where you should go, and it just again helps you manage those data errors if you have recruiting onboarding coming to manage pending hires, if you have incorrect orgs or misaligned data. And there's time off pieces in there as well. Just admin should be utilizing that. And some additional functionality that is coming out with this release is that, and it's such a small thing, but I don't know why I'm super excited, is that you can subscribe for email alerts. So you can, it's not just now you have to be proactively going and looking at that tile. You can now set by alert to send you an email and let you know. So as an admin, I'd get a message pop up when there is a data issue. I can go quickly in there and react to it.
Well, that's great. I suppose it's one of those as well, the email notifications. Some people love it and some don't, isn't it? So
That's true. If you don't like a lot of emails, although you can subscribe weekly, so I think it's a daily and a weekly, so maybe not daily, but
the weekly is good. And anything else from your side around the release then as well that's caught your eye? I suppose working with all the various clients.
So there's a few other things that I do want to call out. Sorry, I'm side glancing at my notes here to make sure.
No, that's not allowed.
No, I know I should just know it all right. No, is around the rehire match. Again, the small things that are actually going to make a big difference. So you've all had that experience where you're entering a new hire and you didn't realize they already exist or potentially exist in your system, and then you get that there's a potential match pop-up message. It doesn't give you very much information today. They've really expanded that out now. So there's additional fields available on that pop-up so you can truly see, is it a match or is it not? So it just is adding in a few additional fields, because if you have a very common name, right? I'm going to use your stereotypical John Smith. You have a common name, maybe they do have the same birthday. I have had clients that have had that, ironically, that these people have the same birth date as well, but they're different users. So again, it's just giving that administrator or whomever is entering in that to really be able to assess, is this a true rehire or is it not? And then you can, again, same functionality of accept match, ignore match, etc. But again, just your UI display is going to give you several more fields to make that decision on.
Excellent. And Shannon, I suppose over the next couple of releases, do you think there's any big improvements that can be made, or what areas of the system are you kind of most excited about those developments in the next couple of releases?
I think just again, with SAP really focusing on the user experience throughout the entire suite, just seeing how that's going to apply to Employee Central over the years, obviously where EC was 8-9 years ago versus today, very different experiences, very different usability for end users and admins. So again, I'm excited to see where that user experience is going to continue to be enhanced within Employee Central, as well as just, again, still some of those gaps we have, especially for our on-prem clients of, as they move to the cloud and making the system work with their organizations the way they need it to.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting topic, especially around. I mean, we've spoken about the SAP Work Zone as well. So for those clients that are using SAP, maybe not just for HR, but maybe for finance or procurement, that having that, I suppose, really slick UI, and I can see, again, the work SAP are doing in the background around and in the foreground around that. So I think that's where it's going, isn't it? It's kind of tying SuccessFactors or into more of a business system as well, and that continual innovation. So that's I think that's probably the one area as well that I'm looking forward to seeing how that develops on top of Qualtrics as well. Like you can see the Qualtrics embedded in the system, and some of the surveys that can come maybe from an offboarding process then as well. So I think the more and more focus around the employee experience there is going to be key, isn't it? Because I think SuccessFactors, it's got to such a great level now. If you can really draw on that employee experience, manager experience piece, then it's going to, it will keep continuing to develop.
Yes, I cannot wait for more of our clients to get into the Qualtrics things, because that's one of the things, right? Like, I can't go play with that. I can't set that up and test it myself. So I am super excited to see once that's, in more usage, so that I can, really help experience that with our clients.
Yeah, we have I think internally we've done a couple of projects now, which is great. So we're beginning to kind of really get to grips with some of that configuration and then the tie-ins of those connection points as well. There's a question around the integration and any integration impacts that should be called out in this release. One that I thought was significant, because I've seen possible issues with it in the past, was around the cutoff date. And I'll look at my notes here as well, because I just looking to recall that. So the cutoff date used to filter on effective dated entities that you don't require in the receiving system. So perhaps on a benefit system now, you only want the records that are the demographic data coming from EC that are valid from maybe the 1st of January 2021 and onwards. So I think that cutoff date enhancement will be key, and it'll just make integration a lot easier as well, and consistency around SuccessFactors and the SAP master data integration services as well. So that was one integration impact, and there are some others as well that we I know we'll probably share information at a later stage as well. But anything else, Shannon, from your side that is of interest?
I do, actually. I have a few other things that I just want to make sure we call out. So one of well, again, going back to the validating and checking your system. So 2 years ago, I want to say, I don't know, time just, rolls over, and I completely skipped over 2020, as all of us have, that the check tool came out. Paul, I don't know, again, being more on an implementation side, how much you've experienced with the check tool, but they've really been enhancing that over the years. And it's amazing. They're continuing to enhance that. Like, just when you think you can't add another check into the system, they come out with that. So there are actually 2 really, really good check tool updates that I wanted to call out. So again, Paul, have you ever experienced where you try to make a change to a pay component at the object level, right? Like, let's say you want to change it from, an amount to a percent, and you get the lovely error message saying you can't change this pay component because it's assigned. You can't find where that pay component's assigned. They don't have a check tool for that. You run the check tool, it is going to tell you all the employees and all the other objects that may reference that pay component, so that you can either understand where the pay component's being used, or again, if it's a pay component you do need to change, what employee data, because you cannot do anything with a pay component once it's assigned to an employee or referenced somewhere else, which makes sense. You don't want to mess with pay components, right? You don't want to be messing with that pay stuff. The other check tool piece is with regards to your pick lists. And I know this has been a struggle for many clients, especially after we've moved to MDF pick list when they did the migration from legacy to MDF. Side note, if your organization has not migrated to MDF pick list, do it now. Contact SAP now, because they are being deprecated with this release, legacy pick lists. But often we have struggles with option IDs, or somebody makes a value inactive and you see that obsoleted value, right? You see the label and the obsoleted. So there's now a check tool for the pick list as well. Again, just to help you understand where there could be issues or troubles or things aren't matching. I think, again, that's a great tool, because sometimes you'll see it and then you're just like, I don't know where the issue actually is. So again, utilize that check tool. I think it's a very underutilized tool within the system. Start running those checks and looking at your data and looking at your configuration.
It's a good point. And I think around, I mean, we see onboarding now moving to onboarding 2.0 and, you know, that real sync with Employee Central. But in the past, maybe, you know, the pick list, maybe inconsistencies between recruiting and Employee Central were often a consultant's nightmare. So it's great to see, you know, that check tool enhancement as well. So that's good. One area that I didn't refer to earlier, when we talked about configuration center, and I suppose I think the governance really around the configuration migration is maybe a plug for our own product, Blueline, where it's giving that governance piece as well, that governance methodology, where in Blueline itself that we can manage those those configuration approval chain, you could say, as well. So I think that's where we've seen a lot of benefits with organizations working with Blueline, and I think that's it's becoming so critical. I mean, around the IT auditors coming in and they're focused on why did such a change happen, and it's difficult really with Excel workbooks, as you can imagine, and the UI changes as well, doing those audits. So I think that's going to be really key over the coming years.
Yes, definitely. It definitely leads to that governance of it. And again, not just in implementation. Again, just to talk about the Blueline product, that we are now utilizing that and offering that to our clients from a managed services perspective for, again, their ongoing maintenance. Because once you go live, your workbooks are as good as the day you went live, right?
Yeah.
The moment any changes happen, I don't see too many clients going. Some do. Some are awesome, and that's great.
Yeah.
But I don't see too many going back to their workbooks and be like, oh, we went and added a new field, or we changed the label, or, you know, things like that. So
exactly.
Having that from an audit perspective, from the clients actually knowing what's happening in their system, right? Who's making what changes, things like that, is just really going to help you maintaining a solid system after you go live.
And I think as well, it's a good point, Shannon. And I think those integration impacts. So say, for example, if I change the pay grade field in Employee Central, what are those downstream integration impacts to benefits, to payroll, and to time possibly as well? So it's kind of giving it that one-stop shop for, okay, this is like a data dictionary, so to speak, as well as an approval chain.
Yep.
So that's where I think we've seen some really good discussions, I suppose, around that piece then as well, and maybe a value add for organizations to think about going forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
Shannon, anything else from your side, I suppose, looking at
I mean, again, there's some other great little things that are out there. One other thing that, just again, talking about from a configuration perspective, is in managed business configuration, we now can see the HRIS sync mappings in a summary view. So I'm going to be honest, again, me being a partner, and if I have access, if I need to see what the sync mappings are, I go old school. I go to provisioning, I export the data model, and then at the bottom of a data model is where all the sync mappings are. That's just always quicker. But if you're in managed business configuration, you have to go field by field. Now, they did put an improvement in a year or two ago that there's a little symbol now next to a field under the details. Everybody, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. You can hover over it and it tells you the sync mapping. But you still have to go to every HRIS element, every single field, and I'm pointing because I'm looking at my screen in my head. And you have to go and find them. So now we do have a summary page on the BCUI where we can see all of those sync mappings in one place. And I'm hoping SAP in the future release is going to let us do mass updates there too. So we don't have to go every single field and make an update.
Okay, fine.
We can do it right on this page. But right now it's just read only. That's my dream. I hope it's SuccessFactors' dream as well.
You should get a percentage.
Yeah, and it's just right because you go to the data model and you just go and make the updates right away. So it'd be nice to just go to this page and go and make an update.
Actually, funny enough, we're working with an organization now that had previously maybe the talent, performance, and LMS in the system. So now the EC is coming on top, so to speak. So that visibility around the HRIS sync is key as well there. So
it really is, right? Or, you do a basic employee export and you see all of these fields and you're trying to figure out where are they coming from in EC. It's just, again, having that view page is just, it's going to be so much easier for clients to be able to see that right there in one place.
People are loving your passion. I can see comments coming in there, Shannon.
I love Employee Central. If you know me, you know that I am all about. I've also been, I've been told too much information, but I've been told in the past, right? Like, oh, you should, get your certification in recruiting or get your certification comp, which I would love. But I love EC too much. Like I can't.
Yeah, you'd feel like you're betraying. You'd feel like you were betraying EC. Yeah,
I would. It would be very sad.
Absolutely. Well, that's great. I think I think from my side, I think we've covered probably the major enhancements, the big component. There's
nothing too dramatic. So, clients, relax. It's okay. There's nothing, too out there. One thing I do want to call out again, just for those clients who hopefully you're keeping up with it, event reason derivation. Again, being deprecated this release. So if you haven't already moved to business rules for your event reason derivations, please make sure that you are looking into that and doing that. There is, a migration that is happening, but if something didn't get migrated automatically or you're struggling with that, please make sure you're going into your preview instances and checking that out, and then reach out, to SAP or to your partners, or us. We're more than happy to help you for that. So again, that would be a big red flag if you haven't migrated to Picklist, if you haven't checked your event reason derivation. I just thought of another thing and it lost my mind. So yeah, I'm good. I don't know if we have any other questions. I don't think so. All right. Well then, I think that is all. So thank you everybody so much for your time. I hope you maybe learned something new. If you didn't ask a question and you have a different additional follow-ups or additional questions, please feel free to reach out to Paul or myself on LinkedIn. Please feel free to reach out to Rizing HCM directly if you do need any help with any of your post go live management. I'm more than happy to sit and talk with you and help you. But I think that's it. Thank you, Paul, as always. Thanks, I always enjoy talking with you. It's always so much fun.
Yeah, great to catch up, Shannon, and thanks everyone for listening. Take care.
Thanks,
have a good day.
Everyone, have a great day.